Technology companies are notorious for spending big bucks on random moonshot projects, but Meta, or Facebook as most people know them, are focusing on something which is a bit more focused. They don't seem to be hedging the bets like their technology competitors. Google investing in all sorts of random things ranging from space launch systems to quantum computing and all sorts of random stuff. And Tesla are investing in robot workers and self-driving cars, whereas Meta are basically only investing in the Metaverse. And I'm assuming that you're probably just like me, that when you actually try to do a little bit of half-hearted research into what the Metaverse actually is, nobody actually knows and everyone just says Metaverse without actually having any clue or concept what that actually involves. So I put in a little bit of research that can be basically one level above half-assed and decided to find out what the actual metaverse is about. And to start with, I'll point out that a lot of this metaverse involves augmented reality or virtual reality or a combination of the two. And they're trying to create artificial settings and artificial environments where people that are thousands of kilometers away from each other can communicate exactly like they are in the same room. So to describe what the metaverse actually is, I'll provide some examples of what their end vision or end goal is, and then describe how they're going to achieve that. So as an example, you can see right now that I'm in my shed by myself. However, if I put on these hypothetical augmented glasses and I were to put them on, suddenly there'll be all these co-workers all around me and they're wearing their glasses as well, but everyone happens to be working from home. But we can see each other, we can communicate very clearly, and it's although we're in the same room, even though we're physically not. So that's kind of one of the visions or end goals that they're hoping to get in a bit of a simple summary. But now I'll go into detail about what some of the actual projects are, and I'll start with Project Cambria. And no, that's not Cambridge Analytica. This is basically a massive headset that you put on your head, because it's a headset. And the idea is that you'll be able to see through it because I have cameras all around it, so you can sort of see beyond the headset even though what you're looking at is actually being filmed by the camera. And it'll also scan your facial movements. And so your avatar for the digital world, for these people that hypothetically appear behind me, you'll perfectly be able to see their facial expressions and even lip read them because the headset has little scanners all over the place and it perfectly mimics the real person's facial expressions to what the avatar has. So that's Project Cambria, but the project that I'm personally most excited about though is Project Nazare. And the reason for this is that it's more of an augmented reality approach as opposed to a virtual reality approach. Although Meta have not announced the design of their glasses, it is speculated that it won't look too much different to a normal set of glasses, and it'll have a whole bunch of features with it. And so as many of us are aware, our normal peripheral vision is approximately about 180 degrees. However, if you put these Meta glasses on, it'll be 220 degrees. And there'll be other features as well. You'll be able to have hologram displays, you'll be able to read displays in your glasses that no one else can see, and it'll have a whole bunch of random cool sensors built into it. And can you imagine some of the everyday practical uses of this? I mean, imagine if you're one of those people that just really struggles to remember people's names and you go up to old mate at a party and you're like, hey Dave, how you going? I'm like, oh, hey. Oh, Jono, how you going? Yeah, good to see you again. And so imagine that scans their face and then it brings up their Facebook profile next to them. Well, one thing that I'm personally really hoping to get out of this is that if you, like me, you sort of really struggle following instructions, like say an IKEA instruction manual on how to put a bit of furniture together. But you could just put these glasses on and then sort of have the manual like sort of right next to it where you're either looking through the manual or do you have the manual looking right next to your screwdriver. And so you can sort of just watch in real time. I'm actually kind of excited about Project Nazare and I really hope it succeeds. But with that being said, both Apple and Google have attempted this in the past and both of them have unfortunately failed. But both of them attempted this over a decade ago and so the technology has come a long way since then and hopefully Meta can succeed where these other two tech giants had failed. Is that everything that Meta's working on? Well, not even close, but everything else that they're working on will be fitting into one of these frameworks. And an example of something else that they're working on is the artificial intelligence. They're going for artificial intelligence in a very different way to what Google is going for it. Google are going to make the full sentient, self-aware version of artificial intelligence, whereas Facebook is still trying to use it as a tool. And an example of one of these tools is the translation service. So for any of you out there that are fans of Star Trek, you're probably aware of the universal translator, where all the characters have a little earpiece sticking in their ear, and then one character could be speaking French to another character that's speaking Klingon to another character that's speaking English, and the person that speaks English can only hear English even though the person is uttering French words and the Klingon is uttering Klingon words, and for their situations it's the same. Meta is basically trying to make the real life version of this. It'll initially exist in the metaverse, so it'll come out of our headsets or out of our computer speakers. And so if this is successful, even with the other things failing, I mean, this will be an incredibly valuable software. And just for the benefits of what it'll achieve for the world, irregardless of what you think about Meta as a company, if this translation service can actually work, I mean, imagine how much this could actually really bring the world together and how much it can clear up misunderstandings. Another potential feature of this artificial intelligence like Meta are trying to apply to the metaverse is for content moderation. And this can be a little bit of a double-edged sword. I mean, it can be used to censor free speech, but it can also prevent wild misinformation from being spread right at the source. And hopefully it does stay restricted to people spreading misinformation, but unfortunately, if power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So naturally, these two artificial intelligence projects are going to be game changers for the metaverse. In order to run that software, it have to run through Meta's computers. So with that, they'll have a ton of conversational data. And with that abundance of conversational data from people all over the world using the metaverse, can you imagine what data insights they'll be able to get out of that? Meta are even hoping to take this one step beyond, where instead of just having a conversation in just a neutral and digital world, they're hoping that people would actually take a bit of pride in their digital homes. So in the same way that you walk around a house, or the same way that you walk in someone's shed and they take a lot of pride in the way they have things set up, Facebook are hoping that we'll apply this to our digital lives as well, where we can have a digital house and digital home and buy digital furniture and display digital art in the form of NFTs, and then invite people around and have parties. And whether that takes off or not, I'm not sure. And not only for our homes, our businesses will be able to design the corporate offices as well. So they could have NFT art displayed, so no one will be able to see it when they're sitting at their desk at home, and then they put in their glasses, and then all the co-workers and all the office environment suddenly just appears around them. And so this is basically part of the end goal for what Meta is trying to achieve. And if this is actually successful, this will be a massive contributing factor to lowering CO2 emissions. If people aren't having to drive to work every day, or if people are not having to do international trips because they can have a conversation with someone just by putting glasses on rather than hopping on a plane or a car, this is obviously going to massively reduce CO2 emissions from the developed world. Microsoft are also trying to create their own version of the metaverse, except they're just not as loud about it. And whilst Facebook is hoping to use business as the foundation for launching their metaverse, Microsoft is more trying to do it through the gaming avenue. So Microsoft are actually in a bit of a buying spree right now, where they're buying many large video game makers. And metaverses do already exist in a bit of a smaller form in computer games like Minecraft or Second Life or even World of Warcraft. So gamers are very much aware of the metaverse concept already, whereas for people in businesses, it's a very new concept and will have to be introduced to it. And so you can argue that Microsoft have a little bit of an advantage over Facebook in the fact that what they're using as a launching platform or a base would already be more comfortable and more familiar with the whole concept of a metaverse. But then the counter argument for Meta's side though is that yes, it may be harder to get people in business to adopt this metaverse idea, but when the businesses realize how much money they can save by switching over to metaverse rather than face-to-face meetings, they will likely be adopted much faster, because the businesses will be making their employees do it and issuing them headsets, and then the individual consumers won't need to buy those headsets because the company bought it for them, and then the companies basically put them in the metaverse, and that will sort of be the launching platform. So both Meta's and Microsoft's approach to creating a metaverse world, they both have good merit, and which approach will be more successful? Well, you can ask me in 20 years, but for now I have no idea. Either approach could be more successful than the other, or maybe they'll even coexist in the same way that Coke and Pepsi exist today. And so this is a very much an interesting watch this space, because of Tesla or Google, although 4 out of 5 of their projects may fail, if even one of them succeeds, it'll be enough to override the failures of the other 4. Whereas with Meta, they'll be going all in on this one project. And so as far as watching the future of Meta, this is very much an all or nothing type scenario.